Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me today for this webinar with Jeru, the founder of Pip and Henry. Now, by way of introduction, my name is Sophie, and I'm the Head of Partnerships and Montessori Lead at Babbu. Now, today we're going to be talking a little bit about the milestones for walking, how walking affects physical development, how to buy your first shoes for your little one, and the importance of choosing sustainable footwear. But first, Jeru, would you like to tell me a bit about yourself and the brand you founded?
Sure. Hi, Sophie. Thanks for having me on here. So I am the founder of Pip and Henry. We are a kids footwear brand that is driven by a love for the environment. And so we create beautifully stylish, luxuriously comfortable, and environmentally responsibly produced shoes for children. So our playful shoes are made out of really luxurious but sustainable materials, things like organic cotton, pineapple leaf fibers, recycled rubber. We run a recycling program for outgrown shoes where we incentivize parents to send back their old shoes to us, and we give them £10 off their next purchase. And finally, we're really passionate about helping kids feel empowered to drive change themselves. And so we've written these stories about Pip and Henry. Pip is a little girl, Henry is her dinosaur friend, and they embark on these adventures to reduce the number of shoes in landfill, or they befriend the bees, or they clean up dirty beaches, or they learn about the difference between good bugs and naughty bugs, and just, in a fun way, get conversational about the environment.
Fantastic. I really love the way that's Pip and Henry is just more than just a shoe, and you really drive that sustainability. I love that. As parents of little ones, we know that children's feet go really, really quickly. So could you tell me a little bit about why sustainability in children's footwear is such a big issue, and what kind of problems is the industry facing at the moment?
Sure. So, as you said rightly, kids typically outgrow shoes every 3 to 4 months in the early years of their lives. The average child in England owns 15 pairs of shoes over the course of the year. That's 80 million pairs of shoes that are being bought by British families in the UK alone every single year. And sadly, most of these end up in landfill. 85% to 90% of shoes are just thrown out and end up in landfill. And because of the way in which shoes are made, there are various materials, often plastics and really chemically processed materials that are glued, laminated, and stitched together. They end up sitting in those landfills and decomposing slowly and leaching harmful chemicals and toxins into the ground and water for thousands of years to come. So the footwear industry is really massively problematic from an environmental perspective. And our kids are unfortunately unwitting contributors to the situation. And so I really believe, that the time is right for a change in the way in which this everyday product is made and also disposed of. And that's what led to start Pip and Henry.
Fantastic. And how is Pip and Henry tackling these issues face on?
So we look at sustainability through various lenses. The first is, of course, we want to make quality footwear that is long lasting and that is made out of environmentally friendly material. So 80% of the materials that go into the making of our shoes are environmentally preferred materials. So things like organic cotton, pineapple leaf fibers, recycled rubber soles. And that is actually a really hard problem to solve for. And it is actually a stat that puts most of the major footwear players on the high street to shame. And we're trying really hard to make 100% of all the materials that go into our shoes really, truly environmentally sustainable. Secondly, all of our shoes are podiatrist approved, and they include innovative design features to allow for a little bit of growth so kids can use the shoes for longer. So things like adjustable Velcro straps, removable insoles to allow for a bit of wiggle room. Those are design features that we've built into our shoes. Thirdly, we incentivize customers to recycle their shoes with us. So as I said, kids outgrow their shoes so quickly. And to prevent them from ending up in landfill, we ask parents to send back their shoes to us and we give them £10 off their next purchase. And what we do then is donate shoes that are still in good use so they can be reused again and not be disposed of after 3 months. And those that are really worn out, we recycle them and we use them to create things like playground foam and insulation. And then there are other quirky things that we have as part of our brand. So, for example, our shoe box is actually designed to be dual purpose. So it's actually designed to be a board game that kids
Great.
can play. And it's a fun educational tool
Yeah.
that teaches kids about how to use waste from around their home and do things like arts and crafts. It teaches them a little bit about recycling. We also have a foot measuring guide in there. It's a sturdy storage box. So, every aspect of our brand, we try and think of ways in which we can inspire kids to drive change, but we also try and think of ways in which packaging, for example, can be multi-purpose.
Yeah, definitely. So it's all like an all-in-one, and everything kind of comes full cycle. That sounds fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So kind of moving on to the development side of things, I guess. Physical development is a process of growth and change that occurs in a child's body. So this includes, size, shape, strength, and coordination. And the development of walking is just it's a huge milestone in a child's physical development. So most children start walking between 12 and 18 months of age. And during this milestone, as the skills that are involved help them with balancing, spatial awareness, muscle strength. And it can also be a fantastic way to help them get outside, explore the world around them, which is, of course, being in nature and great for their well-being, which I know that Pip and Henry really encourage as well. So when it comes to exploring outside, it's really important to choose the right shoes for your little one, and putting on shoes, encouraging children to put on their own shoes really supports their independence and thus their self-esteem and personal and emotional development. So I know that, most experts recommend that when children start to go outside, having shoes on is a good way to protect their feet. And although children can't start using shoes from the moment they start stepping, but, you don't need to wear shoes inside all the time. So Jeru, when buying shoes for children, how can parents make the best choice for their child?
Absolutely. So, like you said, a child's foot sort of evolves so much over the course of the early years of their lives, especially. If you look at a child when they're born, their feet are actually triangular shaped, and they're really wide at the toes and narrow at the heel. And that kind of changes as they develop. And at birth, actually, there aren't any bones in the feet. It's mostly cartilage. And then that gets replaced by bone. And actually, that process isn't complete until kids are 18, 19, 20 even. So walking is a huge developmental milestone. They're trying to master balance, they're trying to master spatial awareness, they're trying to gain muscular strength in an area of their body that isn't, fully developed. But also they're learning about the world and discovering the world. So there are studies, for example, that have linked cognitive development to barefoot walking. Because kids, if they put on shoes too early, they tend to be looking down at their feet because they're like, oh, what is this magical thing on my foot? And they're not spending time lifting up their heads and looking out at the world. And so there are actually studies linking cognitive development to, constantly wearing shoes. So the best thing you can do absolutely is to allow your children to walk barefoot whenever possible for as long as possible, particularly when they're inside the home. But of course, kids go out into the world, and so you need to put something on their feet to protect their little shoes. And so there's several lenses that I can think of that can help you make the best choice of footwear for your kids. The first is the materials that go into the making of those shoes. Can you select shoes that are made out of natural materials, that have breathable elements to them, that are organic, that are less chemically processed, because they are interacting with your baby's tender feet. And so you want to try and make sure the thing that is coming in contact with them, that they're sweating in, that they're basically living in, is as non-toxic as possible. Then there's a lens around comfort. So is the padding around the ankle enough? Is there enough cushioning in the insoles? Are your fastenings not too tight, easy for kids to put on? Can kids actually adjust shoes themselves? Because that in itself is quite a developmental milestone. Can they, adjust those Velcro straps? Gives them a sense of independence and self-esteem. And that's really critical for young kids. But then fit, you don't want something that is too tight because it causes things like blisters, but you don't want something that is too loose because it can make kids trip and not sort of push off their toes as well. So, getting shoes that are podiatrist approved, that have the right width, and the right amount of flex in the sole. If you get a shoe that has been vetted by a podiatrist, they would test things like that flexibility, width, to allow for proper foot growth. But I guess the last thing to say is, also have fun with your kids' shoes. Let kids be kids. Let them enjoy the fun years. Let them make choices around the shoes that they buy for themselves, because all of that is part of enjoying your children, enjoying them growing up. And helping them develop cognitively as well, getting a sense of independence and control around the stuff that they're putting on their bodies.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you totally there. I guess, like as you say, making wearing shoes a lot of fun. Letting them choose what color, maybe patterns, something like that. But I guess another way that you to encourage walking, I get the art of walking doesn't just start when your little one takes her first step. It begins at crawling and cruising. So for like grabbing, you could create obstacle courses using pillows, cushions to help your little one navigate spaces. Again, so you're developing their skills for balance, spatial awareness. Another way to support cruising maybe could be to put toys on a table or just in front of them, and practicing that grabbing, reaching out for the toys as well. And, supporting walking,
Absolutely.
trying not to carry them, although it might be difficult at times, but really encouraging them to, take their hands and just be in front of them a little bit, be really encouraging and positive with the language that you use.
I think, kids learn to walk between like 10 to 18 months of age. And so just giving them the freedom to do that and not stressing about, are they walking too early? Are they walking too late? Different kids develop at slightly different paces, and that's fine. You don't have to rush through that developmental stage.
Exactly.
But, like you say, encourage them to kind of take their first steps unaided is just something that's really empowering.
Yeah, definitely. And, make it fun, make it into a game, go for a march, pretend to be soldiers, turning those situations into something engaging and fun for your little one. My last question would be, what are some myths around footwear that are not true?
That's a really good one. I guess the first myth that I'm constantly, as a sustainable brand, we constantly talk about is secondhand is not bad. Sometimes parents are fearful. Can I wear somebody's hand-me-down shoes? Or, can I give my kids that, the older sibling's shoes? Can they be passed on to the younger sibling? That kind of thing. And really, if you think about it, your kids are wearing their shoes for a couple of hours a day, for a few days in the month before they outgrow them. So unless the shoe is really badly damaged, a secondhand shoe is fine. It's not going to affect the developmental milestones of your kid, and it's okay to pass down secondhand shoes. And so, it's important from a sustainability standpoint, but also, from a cash flow standpoint. Your parents don't need to be spending money to buy new shoes because they're driven by fear. There shouldn't be any fear around the use of secondhand shoes. And then the second thing, I guess, is to do with sizing. Some of the high street brands have convinced us that we need to buy new shoes for our children every time their little toes have grown by 0.3 centimeters. If you look at the actual sizing charts of some of the high street brands, you'll see that actually the difference in sizing isn't massively incremental, and it varies from between 0.3 centimeters to 0.7 centimeters. And, brands have developed half sizes because they're trying to promote you to buy more and more and more. In reality, it's fine. You can go up a size and give your kids a little bit of wiggle room, and that is okay. Our grandparents' kind of age-old way of measuring shoes and seeing if there's one finger space in front of the toes actually still holds true. That's the equivalent of a centimeter. So it's fine to have your kids grow a little bit into their shoes without stressing about, I need to buy a size up. I need to buy half a size up. Sizing, yes, you want to get fit right for your kid. You don't want the shoes to be too tight. You don't want them to be too loose. But I think stressing over every half size is not necessarily aiding in their development. And we as a brand have taken a call not to do half sizes in our range because we don't want to promote unnecessary consumerism. Our shoes go up in 1 centimeter increments, and that's actually fine from a podiatrist perspective.
Fantastic. Well, that brings us to the end of my questions for you. It's been great to have you join me, and thank you so much for your time. It's been really insightful talk. And it's been great to learn all about Pip and Henry and the way that you're tackling sustainability and creating less stress for parents when it comes to buying shoes.
Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
Not at all. Thank you.